Hi, I'm Kelly Vaughn, and welcome to Inside Indy. I want to open today's show with a question for you. How do you feel when you come across someone who is disabled? What do you feel? What do you think? Well, there is a new campaign, a video campaign, whether you see this on social media, on television, and it's encouraging you to relax and be cool. And so as we move into this show, I want you to first take a look at this video that was put together by the Indiana Governor's Council for People with Disabilities. Watch.
You gonna count me down?
We have disabilities.
And we make you uncomfortable.
It's why you love to vote as prom king.
But do you remember us on Monday?
You are afraid to see us fail.
It's why you place us in jobs.
With few challenges.
We make you nervous.
So you do really silly things.
Like talking louder.
To someone who's blind.
Now, think about that.
And then take a deep breath.
Relax.
Relax.
Just be yourself.
Be you.
Just be cool.
Because most certainly,
I am.
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 This guy is.
We are.
Help us celebrate Indiana Disability Awareness Month just by being you.
Please show your support by sharing this video.
And we're back. And what did you think? I absolutely love it. And I just think it's so awesome, and it delivers a much needed message in our community. And here to join us on the show to talk about that video and beyond are Christine Dahlberg, Executive Director of the Indiana Governor's Council for People with Disabilities. Thank you so much for coming.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for creating such an awesome video. Brandy Dickerson, who's with the Governor's Council, a spokesperson there, also a star in the video, the much acclaimed video. And then we have Lee Martin of the Governor's Council, spokesperson. He is also the host of the National Federation of the Blind NFB Newsline monthly report for Indiana, which is a show that airs here on Wednesdays at 11:30 on WHMB TV 40. So you got to check Lee out there. And as you saw him on the video, thank you all for coming and being a part of today's discussion. Where did the concept for the video come from, Christine, and why is it so important that it be out there?
You know, a lot of folks with disabilities tell us that the biggest barrier to their acceptance and their enjoyment of life like everyone else is the attitude of people that don't have disabilities about people with disabilities. And often it's an unconscious thing. People just don't feel quite comfortable. They're hesitant to what to say. Can I tell Lee, see you later, Lee, when he's blind? Is that right? Or is there something bad about that? I mean, people feel like they don't know what to do, so they tend to shy away and ignore people and not interact with them. And so this video is just a fun way of just, telling people to relax and be cool.
Chill.
And chill, exactly. It's no big deal to tell somebody in a wheelchair, take a walk with me, or someone who has a vision impairment, I'll see you later. Those are just normal, everyday words. Nobody minds, and it's so what we're trying to do is educate the general public to try to overcome some of those attitudinal issues.
Okay. So you got some input on that, Lee?
Well, it just goes right back to the mission of the Governor's Planning Council, basically to achieve independence, productivity, and inclusion for persons with disabilities through all aspects of society. So my blindness, certainly, I have people that's hesitant to, hey, Lee, did you watch the game last night? Most certainly I watched the game. I have a different way of interpreting it, but I most certainly watched it, and most things like Christine indicated is all attitudinal and educational, So, with the disabilities, you know, we sometimes, the persons that live it daily, has to be that conduit toward educating our general public about different attitudes toward blindness.
Okay, because if you think about it, people who can see listen to it on the radio, the basketball games, the baseball games. So they also watch games audibly as well. So it's not hard to understand how you can tap into that, because we do it. When we're in the car listening to the radio, you can listen to theater in the radio, on the radio.
But I think the real message of the video is don't overthink it. Just
like I'm doing right now, right?
Just relax and be cool with it, you know. I mean, heck, you know, I just can't see, you know. I'll just say I'm 100% certified blind, you know. I have no problem with it, you know. So
it's we often who have a problem.
That
with
is
the person.
correct, you
Yeah,
know.
okay.
And that problem extends itself to 70% unemployment.
Yeah.
You know, high unemployment, right? As far as education and opportunities to be members of our society, productive members, tax-paying citizens and colleagues, and not in just sub-minimum wage positions. So, you know, it's very serious when we talk about some of these issues regarding people with disabilities, because I've found, since I lost my sight at 48 years old, I have found that some of the most greatest people I've met are those people that have disabilities, because they work hard and they achieve. But, you know, you can work hard, you can get the education that you want, but if you don't get the opportunities to pursue professional life, pursue the life that you want, then we have an issue.
Okay. I wanted to give Brandy an opportunity to chime in too.
Well, I actually work at Easter Seals. I work in the employment division, and I actually help individuals keep their employment. And what it means is that I have to be private, so I can't really tell stories, but I've noticed that individuals that have disabilities, just like I do, is that we want to be independent. And sometimes what ends up happening is you put that person in the box and put limitations on what they can and cannot do. For me, I actually at one time, Easter Seals helped me in finding a job, and I had to work out in the community for quite a while, and to come back to them, and now I work directly with them, is that independence, wanting to be independent and wanting to work like everybody else. Sometimes it's like, oh, that person wants to be on Social Security. That's not always true. They need a little bit of help sometimes, but they want to work just like everybody else. Easter Seals has been around for 80 years. They have numerous departments. They have assistive technology. They have a variety of different things that they do and stuff like that. And I have cerebral palsy. I've had it my whole life. And, you know, I'm actually happy that I have it because I relate to other people. And I love to travel, and I've traveled to New Zealand, Australia, Europe, and bungee jumped, been on the Boundary Waters.
You're good, because I'm not bungee jumping.
Well, do it correctly, because I didn't listen to the instructor, and that's a whole different story. But they actually had to drag me up by the legs because I didn't listen to the instructor. You're supposed to sit up, and I was basically. It was a scary, frightful thing. I don't know if I'll do it again.
But you was cool though, right?
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah, I did it. I may jump out of a plane, but I'm still debating on that.
Okay, yeah.
There are very few people without disabilities that are quite as adventurous as Brandy.
Right, exactly.
And I'm not doing it as inspiration, okay? I'm just saying that I just like to be adventurous, and what it comes down to is...
Because that's who you are, and it doesn't matter whether you have a disability or not. I'm not an adventurous kind of person.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't have a disability, that an obvious one. Let's put it like as Lee noted, there's probably something going on with me. We just haven't figured it out yet. But some of that is just that's who you are, no matter what.
And I'm scared of heights, but I do it anyway because I just want to do it, prove that I can do it, basically.
I think the statistics are that about 70% of people will experience at least a temporary disability at some point in their life before they die. So think about that. And it's probably even higher than that. A lot of people, though, their disabilities are invisible. You can't tell by looking that a person has or doesn't have a disability, but it still can affect them. It still can affect their lives. And it still can cause attitude issues when someone without a disability looks at you and says, well, why do you have an accessible parking permit? You don't look like you need one. Well, they may have a heart condition. They may have breathing problems. There's a myriad of potential reasons why someone might need some special consideration or accommodations. And those are legally required to be provided.
I think sometimes, though, people aren't necessarily targeting someone thinking, oh, what, I think some of that stems from thinking that there have been people we know of, maybe even a relative who abuses that privilege.
It does happen.
And I'll actually get caught on that. The reason why I have accessible parking is because usually in snow and rain, if I slip and fall, it would not be a good thing. Right. And so I always get very nervous with my footing. And so at one time, I never had accessible parking until I had worked at a hospital. Dr. Mary Ceccarelli had stated, you know, Brandy, I think you better go ahead and get one because she was worried about me falling on ice. And so now I have one. And so I do sometimes take advantage of it, but it does make things a lot easier for me.
Oh, definitely. Okay.
Yeah, and to go back to the employment issue that Lee was talking about, that, you know, to be serious, that is probably the biggest barrier to people's independence is lack of money.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about that and to get more in depth about unemployment and why that is the situation, but we're going to take a break and we'll come back and pick up on that and address some of the other issues that you'd like to talk about and share with people to make them understand that they just need to relax and be cool. All right?
All right.
All right, when we come back. Here on Inside Indy, and we're all about changing your attitude about the disabled in our community. We want you to relax and be cool. And again, they have a campaign, a very cool public service announcement that's going around. We aired it a little bit earlier, and we'll tell you later how you can check that out online. But in the meantime, we're talking about unemployment amongst those who are disabled. And the rate you said was what, 70% unemployment? Really?
And I believe in some pockets of the blind, disabled community, and even in the blind community, that is much higher than that, you know, much higher than that.
Why is that? Christine, why is that?
Employer attitude is a big part of it. Lack of education and training also can contribute if people don't get the education that they are entitled to and the training that every other person gets going through school. But a lot of it, to be honest, is employers just are afraid to hire people with disabilities. They're afraid they won't be able to do the job. They're afraid that they might have to fire them if they can't do the job, which is perfectly legal. But just people are hesitant. They're just, you know, reluctant.
I can remember an experience many, many years ago at a company, and that issue came up, and there was somebody they were considering for a job. And what I didn't hear that as much as what you're saying as I did, what I remember was hesitation because it was going to be a lot more work. That's what they thought. And what that would, I don't remember who the person was or what it would entail, but it was almost like it was going to be a lot of trouble. But it wasn't like they were against, it wasn't some of the things you said. So what do you think about that? And how can we overcome that?
There's a couple of things. People like Brandy, for example, help folks with developmental disabilities keep and get their jobs by helping to train them, coming in on the work site to assist the employer in training and supporting the person until they don't need them anymore. So that's one method of making sure employers feel more comfortable getting into something maybe they're not sure of. And then if you look at the statistics on how much it costs to hire somebody with a disability in regard to making a change or something in the work environment, the average amount is $50.
Oh, wow.
The average amount is 50. It can cost more than that. But if it does, we have state and federal programs that will help an employer pay for the specialized software or other equipment that someone might need that has a disability. And to be honest, if you look at some of the software available, like Alexa and Echo Dots and all of these voice-activated things, they all started out as equipment designed to help someone with a disability, not the general public. They were never created for the general public. So technology also has a huge role in helping overcome those barriers.
Okay. Brandy, you want to add to that?
Well, basically what happens is majority of the individuals that I work with, they're on time to work. I could be completely honest. A lot of the issues is sometimes with transportation. I'm not going to go into our transportation, but sometimes it takes longer to get to the location. And that's another aspect with
Public transportation.
Is public transportation. Open Door is usually what a lot of people use to get there, and sometimes I have to call and according to get there, you know, is what it comes down to. Is that it's just like everybody else. You got to pay your rent. You know, you got to get to your location. It's like everybody else. It's like they're on time. They do their job. They just want to get a paycheck.
Right.
And there's some that, like everybody else, just because they have a disability, they could be not on time. Yeah.
Again, to me, it goes. Some of it's tolerance or intolerance.
Tolerance. Yeah. We want to pay our job. I've been full time. I've been working full time since I was in my 20s, and I never had Social Security. I'm one of those that, I wanted to work, and I want to work all the way till I retire.
Right.
And travel.
Lee, you were going to add to that?
Well, access to materials, your tools that you need. Sometimes you have to come in and reconfigure some of the job stations that you have. I think that sometimes scare the employers off. Sometimes you have to make your web sites more accessible, and that often, kind of deters the ambition for those individuals to be hired, which is a travesty and really is against the law. So, but access to, just like in college, the access to instructional materials for higher education. These students have to wait long periods of time before they get, the materials that they need, and and it's sad, that they have to. But we're fighting that in Congress right now through the National Federation of the Blind, along with a lot of other issues for people that are blind and disabled. One of the things that I would like to add, prior to Christine going back to a new program that's coming up, is that statistics show that people of color that are disabled are at the lowest end of the totem pole when it comes down to employment and education and opportunities. It's kind of mirrors our society, and there has to be a lot of activism toward that, and I think that's going to be addressed here shortly.
Okay. Christine, I know you had mentioned about a special program that's coming up, starts in October?
Yes, but applications are being accepted now until May. And we usually have 80 applicants or so, and we only pick 35. both Lee and Brandy went through our advocacy training program. It's quite extensive. It takes place from October through May, one weekend a month. There's homework. It's like basically it's like a college survey class.
Okay.
Where we bring experts in and we talk about the system, we build skills, advocacy skills, give people ideas on what they can do to make a difference in their community for people with disabilities and their families. And it's cross disability, so people of all kinds of disabilities, family, parents who have children with disabilities, and they all learn from each other and interact. And by the end of the partners program, they're usually all best friends, and they then support each other after partners and help each other out with various issues and problems. So if there's anyone listening who has the time and energy and would like to get involved in advocacy, we would love to have them apply.
Okay.
So,
and so the information is there on the screen if people want to contact you, sign up. Is there a cost for it at all?
no, actually we cover all costs. All expenses are covered by the program if you're accepted.
Okay. Okay. So there is a kind of an application process. So I want to make people aware of that. We're just about 2 minutes left, but I just wanted to wrap things up by saying there seems to be a divide, obviously, between the disability community and then the community in general, and that it sounds like there's not enough tolerance of what's needed to make things happy, successful, whether it's jobs, money, accessibility to whether it's something, whether it's access to a building or education. And so how do we close that gap? We mentioned earlier about people, it's too much trouble. And I think it's something in our society as a whole, not just against the disabled, but against people of color or a different religion, or that if you're not like me and if you're not able to move as fast as I'm able to move, I don't want to be bothered with you. How do we overcome that?
I think education and awareness, and teaching people to think a little bit more deeply about the other people that aren't exactly like them, and maybe even take a little look around in their own families, because there isn't a person that I've ever met that doesn't have a family member that has some type of disability. They just maybe don't think of it that way.
Very good point, Christine. Well, we're out of time. I appreciate you coming in. We'll have to do this again. I'd love to go further into the discussion. We kind of just scratched the surface here, but I appreciate you coming in, Christine Dahlberg, and Brandy Dickerson, and Lee Martin. Thanks so much for joining us on Inside Indy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you out there for joining us here on Inside Indy. I'm Kelly Vaughn, and we'll see you next time. And remember, relax and say it together.
Be cool.
Bye-bye.